Welcome to a Twist Podcast exclusive. Bonus interviews where hosts Rick and Mark have intimate conversations with people you're sure to find as interesting as we do. Fasten your headphones and let's hit play.
Oh my gosh, it's always a good day when I get to see your face, Sonia, and I mean that sincerely. How are you?
Rick, I'm good. How are you, my little snookums?
I'm doing really good. I know, it's really cool. I talked a little bit of when I introduced you, but to think we met on a trolley in Tampa a couple years ago, and that our friendship has grown to what it is today, that you even call me Snookums, right?
I know. Was I allowed to call you that in
You can
public?
call me whatever you want. I've been called worse things.
Well, the universe always works, and it is ironic that we met on a trolley, but I mean, to just, put the attention on you, that's who you are. It's your energy. And I was like, who is this nut job all over the place? I like it.
And then you and Supervisor, so I was down there for for those listening in, I was down there for a county conference in my role as an elected. And Sonia was down there for the same conference, but little did we know. So I was with a partner, and you guys followed me like lost dogs. Do you remember I was leading you back to the hotel?
Yes.
Totally went the wrong way, didn't I?
Was follow Rick down the yellow brick road. I didn't care. I just knew I wanted to go where you were happily skipping along. Gonna follow you.
And it was hot as fuck, as you remember. It was not nice outside, but we made it. You followed me, and now we have this journey in life. So you were there because you were representing Homeland Security. And I want to talk a little bit about life after retirement, because Sonia just retired, folks. But let's talk about those years just leading up to your retirement. So how many years of service did you give Homeland Security? And what were some of the greatest moments?
Okay, so let's see. When I retired September 30th, which I might mention, midnight, which is the same time and date that the government officially shut down. Woohoo! I started working for Homeland Security in December 1st, 2016. But when I landed with this job, it was my fourth federal agency. So I am, I loved the federal service. So Homeland Security was my last agency out of four. So
and I know you did a lot of work with the community. You ended up your career being selected as one of how many people that got to do the community work you did?
Oh my gosh. So there were over 10,000 applicants. And I was working for the Forest Service in Tucson, and I really didn't enjoy that job. And I wanted to get back to the East Coast, to New Jersey. And I said, well, you know what? Just balls to the wall. I know I'm probably not going to get picked because I have no, community outreach experience, but I'm going to go for it. And I didn't hear anything. And I called because, when you're desperate to get out of a situation, you just have no pride.
Right.
So I called personnel at Homeland Security, and the woman, I said, oh, I know I'm probably not going to get it, but I was just curious, have you guys made a decision? At least I knew if I had a no, I could move on. So the woman surprisingly says, Miss Thomas, she said, I don't know if you know this, but we had over 10,000 applicants and you're in the running.
Oh my gosh.
I said, what? And she said, yeah, so don't give up hope. And thank God for that wonderful woman on the other end of the line, because I approached the phone call thinking, I'm dead in the water. And so I hung up and I thought, wow, God, even if I don't get chosen, the fact that there are over 10,000 applicants and I'm still in the running, I'll take it. So a few weeks later, I get a call from this weird number. I'm sitting in Cubeville at the Forest Service, figuring out how to make a prison break. Right. I hear this man say, hi, I'm Deputy Special Agent in Charge, Rick somebody, and I'm calling to see if you're still interested in the community relations job. I almost lost it. I said, are you kidding me? And so I said, I lost all my formality. And I said, sir, me and my dog are packed and we're ready to come back to New Jersey. And he laughed, and it just so happens that, of course, he's a dog person.
Oh, that helps. Has he ever met your dog?
No, but we ended up talking about our dogs, and next thing you know, I get a call for an interview, and they were so stringent at the Forest Service. I had to sneak and take off work, and I had a Zoom interview, and there were like 8 people at the table, and it was so intimidating. And I was like, well, I don't know why they're kind of stringing me along, but I'll go with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I remember I had my little raggedy pajama bottoms on, and I found this top, this button down blouse, because at the Forest Service, you didn't have to dress up because you were always out in the field.
Right.
Anyway, so after the call, I was like, okay, I know I didn't get it this time. And sure enough, I got the call. And ironically, I had applied for another job with FEMA at One World Trade Center because I was just desperate to come back to the East Coast. Sure. So within a week, I got 2 job offers to come back to New York. And so I took the FEMA job, which was from June to December, while I was waiting on my Homeland Security clearance.
Clearances, I'm sure. I mean, that's a major thing.
So that's how I landed.
That is so cool. Life is good. And we'll take it from there. So how many community relations people were there total in the...
Okay, so there were 26 of us.
That's crazy. Congratulations.
Over 10,000 applicants.
Wow.
To this day, I still don't know why I was hired, but it was a new program. The former director of Homeland Security, Zoe Saldana, she was from Texas, and she was insistent that Homeland Security needed a community relations program. And she fought, and she finally got it. So we were the first crop, if you will, of 26 community relations officers. It was a new program in 2016. They really didn't know what we were going to do. We didn't know what we were going to do. And it is still, for me, a badge of honor that I was one of those 26 out of thousands of applicants. And I didn't take it lightly. And I applied for Newark, New Jersey, and New York City. Excuse me. And of course, New York City is the jewel in the crown.
Right.
And I got New York City.
That's so cool. And you've shared with me some of the conversations you've had, and, community outreach is exactly as anyone can imagine. And I like that you say it remains like a golden moment for you and the work you did, because like you mentioned earlier in this, it was a sour moment. You ended working for Trump twice, or under his administration, this round with who I would consider one of the most nightmarish people ever, in my opinion, the person leading Homeland Security. And I say that as an elected and as a citizen of the United States. What were those moments like when you're trying to talk the community through all the stuff that was going on with ICE? How did you stay focused and positive for these people?
Well, do you want to reference the first round of Trump or the second round?
Whichever you prefer.
The first round wasn't too bad because we were still, as community relations and as a new department, we were still kind of getting our sea legs, if you will.
Nice.
So it was, the cool thing, Rick, is that it was an organic process in terms of how you define the job. And of course, each community relations officer was dealing with something different based on their demographics.
Sure.
Right. So in New York City, of course, my demographics were different, but also, I was always under the spotlight. So I will migrate to the second Trump administration, which was my favorite.
Yeah.
Based on the fact that, this was our second time around with his administration, we pretty much knew what to expect. And so if you talk to any Fed, that with each administration, based on their policies and their philosophies, your job is going to change. Yeah. So this is a little trivia, but under Biden, we were told to refer to immigrants as non-citizens.
Okay.
We were not allowed to use the vernacular illegal alien
Mm,
because the Biden administration felt that it was disrespectful.
got it.
So little things like that, you get formal notices. So of course, when the Trump administration came back, we reverted back to illegal aliens.
Mm,
And the second time around, my job changed because there was more fear.
of course.
There was more fear. And as far as a federal employee working for ICE, Homeland Security, we knew our job was going to be a lot more complicated. And sure enough, from day one, we started getting these egregious internal memos, like one of the first ones I remember being pissed off about. Am I allowed to say that?
Of course. You say whatever you want.
They started what they call these fork in the road memos, and we were just being bombarded with them as Fed employees at ICE.
Yeah.
The first one I remember where I said, wow, this is a real wake-up call was the DEI memo.
Mm.
And I am a member of WIFL, which is Women in Federal Law Enforcement. I had joined this minority federal employees group, and I was a member of BIG, which is Blacks in Government. So immediately within the first 10 days, we get this fork in the road memo saying that DEI is no longer tolerated. And if you belong to any of these groups, basically you must cease and desist.
Yeah, right.
You must delete it from your computer.
Jeez.
Your government computer. And the kicker was, if you know of a coworker who supports DEI, you have a responsibility to report them to the administration.
Mm. Mm. Well, I'm sorry you went through that. And, you weathered this storm. You ended up through September 30th. Retirement started for you October 1st of sorts. So what's life look like now for you? I know you've done a lot of work in the federal arena. Is that still your passion?
I still miss it because when you work for the federal government or for any job for 17 years, unfortunately, I think most of us are guilty of this. You become your job. Your job is your persona. And so I'm learning and having a real challenging time separating Sonia from Sonia, who is a federal employee. Does that make sense?
It does. I hear you. Yeah.
Like my badge, I looked at my badge. I haven't turned it in yet. And I looked at my badge the other day and I started crying because that badge defines everything about who I was for, since 2016. So before I retired in 2020 during COVID, I started an LLC and it was called SimplyHygge. And so with Homeland Security and ICE, of course, you're defending the homeland. So even if you get a job at Target, you have to go through the ICE ethics committee because their concern is that you are a risk, meaning you're a financial risk if you have financial problems, and that means you're vulnerable. So with that being said, I couldn't operate the business. So I had the LLC, it was just sitting there. But to answer your question, I've tried to pivot. My therapist is on speed dial, and I won't say it's easy. Well, I think also because of the way I retired.
Sure. It was harsh. Yeah.
It was harsh. I was told to either relocate to someplace in Maryland or retire. So I chose to retire. Yeah. So now what I'm doing is I'm trying to pivot and I'm promoting my SimplyHygge philosophy, which is it's based on a Danish lifestyle of cozy contentment and abundance, meaning you don't have a lot of stuff in your home. You just have pieces that when you look at them, they bring you joy. You enjoy quiet moments at home with candles and family and friends, just quiet moments, or walking down the street, walking your dog and looking up and seeing a bird in a tree. that's a moment of abundance. And that's what the SimplyHygge philosophy is about. I didn't know that I was living a hygge life all these years because I didn't know there was a term for it.
Right.
Yes. So I am really promoting the hell out of that because I want people to understand that material things basically just create chaos in your life. And it's basically just feeding an empty soul. What's important is waking up, finding something to be thankful for. And I'm not promoting journaling and all that stuff. I could give a rat's. I'm just saying, try to wake up and find some abundance in your life. So one way I live my hygge life is when I walk my dog, I don't take my cell phone because that's our time together. And we enjoy the stillness of the walk in the woods or in the park. So that's what the hygge philosophy is about. And I feel that especially now with the world in turmoil, especially the United States,
Yep.
we all need to learn how to have a SimplyHygge moment, whether it's finding a place in your bedroom where you want to have a chair and you just want to sit there and read a book or, adult coloring, whatever gives you peace of mind and an escape from the egregiousness of what's going on in society, that you're living hygge.
I love it. So how do you spell hygge?
Oh, so hygge is Hygge.
Okay. And it's your creation of a word, or it really is a concept?
It is actually a Danish word.
Wow.
Now, and my creation is, my company is called SimplyHygge because hygge is such a anomaly to people. I want people to understand that hygge can be a simple act of abundance. We're having a hygge moment right now.
We are. Every time I'm with you, Sonia, I feel that way. How can people find you? I mean, are you to that point where you have a website or you have a social media, or do I have to bring you back to talk about that someday?
You can certainly bring me back, but I encourage people to find me on Instagram. It's SimplyHygge, SimplyHygge. And I'm on Instagram, and I also post Danish and Nordic inspired home decor that is for sale. So it's awesome. A lifestyle, but I also want people to feather their nests. Your home is your sanctuary. When you close the door to your home, it should hug you. And so that's also part of the hygge philosophy. So I sell a few things that are unique and that are maybe sometimes high-end signature pieces, but pieces that bring you joy.
Well, you're not just a piece. You are a friend. So you are a piece of my life, and you bring me joy. I want you to know that. And our listeners too, because I will never forget the night we were in Tampa, decided to go to the gay bar, and you were up on the stage with a bunch of drag queens celebrating your birthday.
Oh, and don't forget.
Yeah, in a very special way. You can share how, but I'm not going to go. Yeah, go.
Okay. This leads to your energy. You are like the Pied Piper. I will follow you anywhere. And, I was like, oh, yeah, you work for this is my inner voice. You work for Homeland Security and you're following this guy off the trolley. Now you're going to this gay bar downtown. What the hell is wrong with you? And you know what? It's your energy.
Yeah, well, thank you.
But the highlight was I got my ass slapped by a drag queen for my birthday.
One for each birthday. I don't know how you survived it, but it was very joyful for everyone in the room.
It was one of the best memories of my life. Are you kidding me?
It was fun.
You know what the biggest was? The biggest gift was meeting you and in our friendship. That's abundance every single time we interact. And I have abundance nobody can take away from me because I have you in my universe.
Oh, and I feel the same, whether it's a friendship with Mark DeVries for 35 years or a new friendship with you. When you find those people, you hold those people. And you're one of my treasures. Thank you so much for joining us, Sonia.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.